and it is apparently a threat that is either being made, or an observation, let's be kind, that Barnaby Joyce has apparently made and apparently told the Prime Minister directly about this today. It is the headline right now on the Australian newspaper's website. I'll get this 100% right and we'll get it up on screen for you in a second, but the super producers tell me. Joyce warns PM, Nat rebels to cross the floor. The story goes on to say that Mr Joyce told Mr Morrison at noon on Thursday that promoting only those who voted for Mr McCormack was not smart and created a precarious situation. He cautioned Mr Morrison that there were now that they would now be in a corner in the House of Representatives filled with supporters who were very aware that they would hold the balance of power. Now, this, of course, is interpreted by the paper and no doubt tomorrow to be a threat about crossing the floor, majority effectively only of two. Once a speaker is out and all the rest of it here. Look, I think that they were stupid, and look, I don't think the Prime Minister can be blamed for the decision of the National Party leader as to whom the National Party leader decides to promote. So I think that throwing it Morrison's way is sort of unnecessary and potentially sort of unnecessarily sort of incendiary. But Bronwyn, do you think that Barnaby Joyce should have said that to the Prime Minister today?
Well, it looks
if
to
that
me,
is correct.
if you go back to Paul Keating's two-step strategy against Bob Hawke, that's exactly what he did. Two-step strategy, and that's exactly what that sounds like.
Right, Nicholas. Look, I'm frankly pissed off to hear that sort of stuff being said so early into a government's term and so early into a year. I understand the ambition of people. I want Barnaby Joyce back in the ministry. Canavan should never have come out of cabinet. He should have gone straight back. It speaks, of course, to the pettiness of McCormack, but he shouldn't be saying those things to the Prime Minister. If he wants to say it to anyone, you say it to McCormack, because instantly we all know what the press will obsess about now that Parliament is effectively up now, but it'll be back, and all eyes on will they or won't they next week.
Where does the story say right. the leak came from?
Well, I don't know, but if there's only two people in a conversation, and and I'm not imagining the Prime Minister's picking up the phone to say, "Hey, guess what happened to me today?" What do you think, Nicholas?
Barnaby Joyce is having the longest and ugliest midlife crisis in Australian political history. I think that's what's going on. I mean, the man's ego knows no bounds, and he's just a massive disruptive force. And there's a thing called party solidarity. There's conversations which you have in private. You keep confidences, and he's just showing none of those political manners here. And he's going to, as we all know, Scott Morrison desperately needs to turn things around and get some momentum going again. But he's just not going to do it when you've got lead in your salad bags in the form of Barnaby Joyce.
Well, look, I certainly don't believe the PM to be as wounded as you do. I don't believe momentum to be stalled either. I think they've had a really good couple of... I think, mate, today was pretty good, the pushback against each way. But, Campbell, let's get to this here about clearly the tactic, which is to remind people, Matt Canavan. Well, Matt Canavan, of course, is in the upper house. So... I'm not entirely sure about which number in the lower house has been changed by the decision-making.
Look, the whole thing has been really, really unfortunate. And I was on this station on Sunday night with Gemma Tognini, looking at the week's news, and this was just starting to be hinted at. And I said then, I'll say it again tonight, none of us in Australia, no Australian, wants to see this sort of nonsense. We've had so many years of it in the Labor Party, in the Libs, the Nats and Libs, then the Nats again. It's just, enough's enough, for God's sake. The election was only in May last year. We just want people to get on with the job, and we want people to put their ambitions aside. They might be good people, they might have a great following in the bush or whatever, but they've just got to put it aside and get on with the job of actually sorting out some big problems in this country. And I'm over all of them. Well, and I just wish they'd get the message.
Yeah, well, my prediction is that there will be an attempt next week, if it's possible, to pass a motion in the Nationals Party room to do what Labor have done, what the Liberal Party have done, which is to back in a sitting Deputy Prime Minister, and the only time these things can take place is after elections. Because honestly, look, I sat on this show, I want Barnaby Joyce as the Deputy Prime Minister, but I also don't want this bullshit every couple of days where the press gallery will just chew this up.
Absolutely, they will. There's there is nothing more damaging than this sort of fight that's going on. But it seems, if it's true, and we've only got it's only a rumour at this stage, if it's true...
And I don't like peddling that stuff, I just like telling people what no doubt you're going to see 24/7 the next day.
Yeah, let's hope it's not true, but if it is true, there's got to be a lot of good, strong negotiation to make sure it's settled down. There has to be a solution found.
Well, Dennis Shanahan is the reporter.
How can you say you want to see this guy... Paul, how can you say you want to see this guy as Deputy PM? I mean, even if you agree with his policies, surely his temperament, his own personal character challenges you.
Come on, Nicholas, you want to be in Parliament. Look at yours.
Because I'll tell you the truth, right? I'll tell you the dead honest truth about where I think politics exists in the Western world in 2020 is that I think that whatever you believe in, you need the most passionate and well-skilled advocate at the front of the team.
Correct.
I can't stand Adam Bandt, but he's the best they got. He, of course, should be the leader of the Greens to push their cause. Now, I think his cause is one that should go off the cliff, but people would say that about Barnaby Joyce. I think Scott Morrison is the best person to be there for the Liberal Party. I don't care about the Labor Party, but my point is that if you look at the UK, the personality of Boris Johnson, you look at the United States, the personality of Trump, you look at the personality of Pauline Hanson or the personality at the very local level of Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, people love decisiveness and they love big personalities that are decisive. Does that mean you get imperfect human beings? Bloody oath. Does that mean that you're probably going to have a whole bunch of people who'd never vote for you, who hate everything, who will try to scandalise everything you do? Of course. But that's my judgment about the Western world. Now, I get it, Justin Trudeau is different, but somehow they re-elected a guy who put blackface on. So I got no idea how that works.
And Macron.
So I'm 100% with you on, wanting braver leaders, people who tell it like it is. But there is this issue of character, and there's an issue of temperament as well. And he is just so wide of the mark. I just don't know how you can... Campbell,
what about that theory that I just think this is where party rooms will go, and this is what people want about leaders in the noisy, flashy era we live in?
Look, I really enjoyed listening to you before, Paul, on that. I think actually there's a lot in that. I really do. I think that's where things are globally in Western democracies. I really see that. And look, to Barnaby, I mean, Barnaby's made quite a few mistakes. He's fessed up with that. I know a lot of women now are rather cheesed off him about what happened with the family. But still, he is seen as an effective advocate in rural and regional Australia, and it's a pity he doesn't have an important role there. And look, that's for the National Party. But I guess my point is this: once you've just won an election, you've won a difficult or challenging election. We just want all of them to get on with it and put aside personal ambition.
Let's look at perhaps what the story may be really about. Maybe it is about issues that matter to country people as Barnaby sees it. Maybe he sees the group within the Liberal Party, which is now becoming very pro climate change and pushing for that.
But the PM's not there, so that group might exist.
I'm just about to make that point.
Of this world.
I'm just about to make that point. He has stood firm against it.
100%.
And perhaps the real story is maybe Barnaby is trying to make the point that he's going to try and stick with that line and will be there for a bolster. If these people try and muck up, well, there won't be the numbers to do it.